My name is Jesse Whittock. I'm the deputy editor of a trade magazine called Television Business International. So today we've got Magine TV with us to talk about whether the future of OTT if OTT will save live TV. And to my right, we have Michael Turner, who is the Chief Content Officer of Magine. And to his right, we have Rahul Puri, who is the Chief Technology Officer. So to get straight into it, Michael, will OTT save live TV?
Thanks everybody for coming along. I think it's beholden on us before we start, just to, after last night's scintillating defence of the creative and production qualities that the UK has, just to say where we stand philosophically. We only believe what we know, and in fact some of the things we believe are different from the things we believed when we started in OTT. What we have learned is that distribution is changing, and the reason we wanted to come along and talk to the production and creative sector of the industry in the UK was just to perhaps change people's way of looking at OTT. Up to now, since this technology arrived and those three letters hit the airwaves, it has always been associated with the growth of online viewing, people moving to on-demand video, people drifting away from what has been the way we've always watched television up to now. And yet, what are we? We don't do that. And yet we are OTT. And every time we go to a meeting, we're viewed with that same raising of the eyebrows that Netflix probably had when they first went. Today's job really is to show how we have tried to build a company that is in a position to support linear TV, because that's where we believe all the popular programming is still watched. Does linear TV even need saving? If you look at the viewing statistics, you'd probably have to ask if the question itself is even valid. And that's why we only believe what we know.
It's fair to say that in 10 years' time, most channels will be delivered digitally, probably through IPTV. And you guys are positioning yourselves as effectively an online pay TV operator. Can you explain to these guys a little bit about the model, and then Rahul, I think we should maybe take them through a demonstration of how the tech works.
Yeah. So this company started in Sweden 4 years ago. Launched a service there in partnership with the broadcasters. Then we moved to Germany 2 years ago. Launched commercially a year ago. We have agreements there with RTL, with ProSiebenSat.1, with the public broadcasters, with the collection societies, with almost everyone it's possible to have an agreement with in the rights area. That sets us apart from many of the operators in our space. We charge a subscription in the way a old cable or satellite operator would work, and that is where we get our revenues from, and we share those revenues with the program makers and the broadcasters.
And it is fair to say that some of your competitors have developed quite negative reputations. If you look at the issues with Aereo in the US and Catch-Up TV in the UK, you guys have positioned yourself or you're attempting to position yourself in a friendlier position, I guess, and the key to what you're trying to do, I understand, is do those deals in the first place. So what do those deals entail?
Okay, the first thing we did when we started this was recognise that there's a choice here. People might well leak from linear broadcasting to another way of watching television, whether that is legal or illegal. It is happening. And perhaps what we should do is align this technology we had, which Rahul will demonstrate, with the current strong areas of the industry. Where are people watching television? How are they watching it? That may be changing. Let's make it easier. Let's make agreements with the key broadcasters in each country. Let's go to Los Angeles, explain our service to all the studios. Let's visit every major production house in Europe or distribution house. explain what we're going to do before we do it, clear the rights with them, because a lot of the contracts they had didn't include distribution via the internet, get permission for that, make sure we were bang on. I'm not criticizing what other companies or the approach they've taken. All I know is that I think it's crucial that OTT takes a position alongside the current players, strengthens them, and makes their programming easier to watch more often.
What are you trying to achieve, and what are you trying to do differently to some of your predecessors?
Well, I've touched upon the fundamental difference, which is that the first thing we do is make agreements with the broadcasters in the countries we're in. As I say, we launched in Sweden, we moved to Germany, and we're in open beta in the UK through agreements with the principal private broadcasters here, ITV, Channel 4, Channel 5, and that beta will grow. It's where we were in Germany when we started, and now we're a lot further along the line there, and that's what will happen in the UK. I think that's what we're essentially doing that's different. But Rahul touched upon a key point, which I think our speaker last night put forward as a solution for what did he call it? The failing capitalism of the proposals.
Bad capitalism, he called it.
That's right. And one of them was that the programs that the creative sector in the UK produce are not adequately commercialised around the world. And I think anybody who's had to travel around Europe and the US and Asia negotiating rights, as I've often had to do, you do get that feeling that so much more could be sold, that there's such an appetite out there for programming that you people make. And, as he said, we're all in this together, and I think OTT plus the programming from the UK is almost an unstoppable formula for protecting the kind of creative assets that he was describing last night.
So who do you see as your key competitors then? Where are you positioning?
It's hard to totally define a competitor. I think we're a little bit of a rarity. We've been around and explaining what we were going to do for 4 years now. Media companies take a hell of a long time to set up, and customer bases are not just round the corner. You don't just pick them up in your post box. You've got to really work at them. We haven't yet found a competitor that, let's say, that follows the same line that we're following, which talks to the free-to-air broadcasters first and makes those deals, then establishes a pay product which can make the company profitable. That is...
No, but I mean, in terms of the competition, right, I think with OTT and digital, the nature of competition has changed. I think everyone in this room, in terms of the broadcasters and programmers, understand this, right? The nature of competition is about eyeballs. It's no longer the same traditional set of competitors that had existed before. So what OTT actually does, and what we're doing as a company, is actually using digital and using these network effects and social and these ideas of communities and sharing to actually scale out the consumer base. And this is really what the next generation of OTT can bring to our consumers. It's not just about competing with the same individuals, and it's leveraging digital, leveraging those distribution mechanisms to reach people that you never thought could be reached before, and leveraging some of those same models that we're seeing across other industries as well.
One thing that strikes me is that with the emergence of new platforms all the time, particularly in the paid-for online space, the rights that you were getting before are surely going to become harder and harder to get your hands on. So how do you see that particular side of the piece evolving?
We've got to get scale, as Rahul said, and in that sense, we do need help from the rights industry to clear up some of the I hesitate to call it nonsense, but in many ways it is. If you were to compare our situation currently, where we have to clear rights for an Android device, and then we have to clear them for any other kind of smartphone, and then we have to clear them via mobile Wi-Fi, this is like buying a Sony television in 1993, taking it home and being told you can't watch Doctor Who on Sony. You need to go back and get a Panasonic. That is the kind of environment we're trying to negotiate in at the moment, and that is our biggest challenge, to make the whole rights playing field clear, so that the service we offer is actually the service we want to offer, and the service the consumers are already looking for. They're already out there doing that, legally or illegally. We want to make it regulated and in line with the industry that currently exists. But, you know, if the playing field keeps tripping you up, then it takes longer. So we've got to get scale as quickly as we can.
Because with services like Netflix, you know, warehousing rights, I guess for you guys who are going territory by territory, there's a need, or certainly a need for immediacy, I guess. So where do you see the next steps for the company in the next 12, 24 months?
Well, we're launching in the UK. That would take any large-size media company a good year of their lives, and we're a small company, and I think it'll take us that next year to consolidate here by improving the offer we have in the UK, working out how it is people are watching television, really, and we're all convinced that we can attune our service to those habits, but you can only do it by measuring the data you get, adapting your service, acquiring the rights that fit those habits, and then putting it out there and saying, let's watch it the right way, with everybody in the chain getting their part of the commercialization that we're making.
So it's fair to say your deals at the moment will cater for everyone in the food chain?
That's been our intention from the start. I guess there's a little bit of fear attached to OTT, and that's something that we've had to try and overcome. But if you look at the situation we have in Germany now, where everybody from the licensor of a series in Germany to a broadcaster there, and then that channel to us, and the collection society's rights in the middle for the artists, all of those people feel like they're receiving part of our revenues. That's a massive achievement, and I think that we have to carry that forward now on a far greater scale.
Okay, Rahul, you've talked about technology being disruptive, but that being good for the industry. Now, a lot of television producers and distributors are, you know, concerned by words like disruption. So, what's the case for technology?
Well, I think it's, you know, how do we leverage technology to bring more value into the value chain itself, right? How do we actually expand the overall base of consumers and possible revenues into the pockets of every single person in the current existing chain? And the disruption is really happening not only on the distribution side. You know, we talk about how we can distribute globally, but the real disruption is going to happen on the experience. Right? How do we build communities and ecosystems of people and individuals that are able to consume this content, share these lineups with each other, and just expand that further? And this is where it's going to happen. And disruption in this case is a very good thing, right? It's about bringing more value, more consumers, more eyeballs to the great content that is produced here.
And in fact, I learned last night that it's part of the creative process, so we have become artists, Rahul.
It's good to know.
No, I wonder if maybe further down the line, will you look at investing in programming yourselves? Is that something that could become part of the model, or is this purely a sort of aggregation play?
At present, for us to invest in programming when all of our partners are investing in programming with the revenues we share with them, they do that very well. I don't think we rule out anything. As I say, we don't know where this is going to go. If anybody does, then you know, they'd be very welcome on stage. But I think that ruling out something like that would be foolish. Looking at the success it's brought, but our partners are the best in the game at doing that, and why would we compete with them?
So. Tell us more, a little bit more, going back to those discussions you were having with the studios. I mean, what was your case to them? Because you know, they're notoriously they're notoriously tough with their rights, and they're very protective. So how did you really bring them round to your way of thinking?
You know, one of the key things we did was actually carry our own television along. We went through, and you know, this is real startup behaviour. I'm quite proud of it at 55. But we were carrying along one of these televisions through the hills in California, and explaining that we were a TV service. Our programs would be watched on TV, but they would also be available on all the devices that young people were using now on. We presented them with, I think, a scenario that they already have in their darkest hours, which is that programming is becoming untraceable, and that they can't work out where people are watching it and how many other people are watching it. And what's that going to do to the advertising market? How is that going to damage the principal revenue streams they have from the broadcasters they sell to? All of these things are all, you know, terrors in the back of the mind. And all we did was crystallize them, but provide a solution, which was to say, the world may well change, but it may well change to remain the same if we can manage it properly. And that it would be a good idea to start working together with a company like ours that actually is warning in advance of what we're going to do, not coming along later and saying, sorry about that, guys, we let your series slip before it had been premiered on free-to-air television. We didn't do that. We went along, we gave all the warning you could, and of course we were pretty clear on the rights triangle that was going to exist. You're a studio, you sell to a broadcaster, we're a platform. We're happy to pay one or the other for the right we need to show the programming. Everybody's going to gain. There's going to be more revenues in this, but we can't pay both. So even as a tiny company, we had to make a stand on that. We can't pay both broadcaster and producer, but the money will filter back in. And this argument was sufficient to convince all 6 major studios to allow us to go on the air in Germany with all of their third-party licensed programming on all the broadcasters without a single hurdle being placed in our way.
Okay, let's open it up to the floor. I think we've got about 5 minutes left. So is there anyone who would like to ask the guys anything? Over there on the back left. If you could just say who you are and then ask the question, thanks.
I'm Amanda, I'm from TalkTalk. Are you just going to take free-to-air channels, or is it a pay service as well?
On the beta at present, there is just free-to-air channels, and there will be a pay product later down the line.
Yeah.
I can expand on that, but you may not want to hear from me much more.
No, yeah, and just kind of what your price point's going to be, and what are your device limitations? So if I was a subscriber, how many devices could I watch on?
Yeah, the commercial terms will be clear when we launch commercially. But you know, one of the issues, as you probably know, working there, is around device limitation, and it is extraordinary that one technical requirement will limit you to 2, another to 4, another to 6, and I don't know if we're expected to check each household. I also don't know if we're expected to watch as people walk out of their house with their telephone and suddenly the coverage changes from Wi-Fi to 3G. All of these things we won't be checking. I can advance that, and we've advanced it to the rights holders. But all this needs to be rationalised, or there will be no regulated solution. There will only be the deregulated or the pirated solution. The
gentleman in the grey coat.
Hi there. I'm John Nolan from Apollo 20. Your solution seems to be a play of we're better than those guys who are pirating content and sitting on rebroadcast platforms. But it also seems to be, oh, and by the way, we are prepared to extend the rights of the broadcasters who are on who are on your device without paying the rights holders who have licensed the program to those broadcasters. So we're only going to pay one of them, not both. What's in it for the owners of the programs who are licensing to the broadcasters?
Well,
other than a dilution of the rights they've already sold?
No, I think that what will happen in the agreement between the rights holders and the broadcasters is it will contemplate distribution via the internet. What is impossible to do is to make all those contracts happen at the same time. And you remember when DTT arrived, DTT rights were not included in many of the contracts that had already been made with the program holders. And we you know, in previous lives, we had to negotiate, I had to negotiate that changeover as well. And hopefully it'll be a matter of a couple of years of staggered contracts. But our intention is to pay the program makers directly or indirectly. If there is no agreement between the program maker and the broadcaster, after a period of time, we can't sit on that position. We would then go to the program maker and acquire the rights directly.
Okay, with that, we're actually out of time, so please give the guys a round of applause.